How are you guys? Don't forget to leave a review and enjoy the story. Enjoy watching. The story begins. On the day MC turned 5, he had a nightmare. He saw himself being executed. During this nightmarish dream, he remembered that all the characters present were heroes from a game he knew well. And Luke was the villain who was executed in the scene he saw. It was him. From the nightmare he saw, MC wakes up in a cold sweat. Luke remembers that he loved this game, a fantasy world full of love and war, intended for adults. The main character of this game is considered the strongest swordsman, the Emperor of the Sword. Currently, he enjoys life at the academy. In the game storyline, he constantly falls in love and trains with his comrades to improve his abilities. Later in the story, he defeats the family of an evil duke who is planning a coup d'etat. Luke remembers that he is the second son of this evil duke. His full name is Luke Hugolo Disgustos. In this game, Luke has a terrible nickname. His nickname is Nasty Fat Toad. In the game storyline, Luke mocks the protagonist and his friends, behaving like a pathetic tyrant and hiding behind his family's authority. People gave him this nickname, mocking his ugly appearance and character. Since this is an adult game, it contains some pretty violent scenes, and the MC couldn't handle them. The reason Luke has such a terrible personality is that his mother died immediately after giving birth, and no one in the family cared about him. As a result, he did unsavory things to earn his family's recognition. But he was lazy, neglected his training, and developed an inferiority complex. Also, nothing came of his magical talent, which he had possessed since birth. As a result, he ended up being a pawn for the Duke, one that could be sacrificed. Luke didn't even reach the status of a minor boss and existed as a victim who had to be destroyed. The MC recalls that both he and the main character must have been 15 years old at the start of the game. He remembers how disgusting the main character of the game looks, which means that he will become the same in 10 years. The awakened MC reflects and realizes that he does not want to die. He still has memories from his past life, so he does not care about the love of his new family. He believes that if he can stop himself from becoming a disgusting, fat toad and does not do evil, he may be able to change the future. He continues to ponder and thinks that after that he will be able to live a peaceful and happy life. Fortunately, he is an aristocrat and does not need to worry about money. But no, he realizes that his family does a lot of evil and he will not be able to escape the punishment that awaits them all. He wants to be strong enough to protect himself. MC sits hugging a pillow, and he remembers that Luke had a talent for magic. He looks at his hands and feels that he has the ability to sense a light spiritual energy. Perhaps it is mana, MC thinks. But he doesn't understand how he can use magic without a game interface. How is it possible to choose between actions such as healing, attacking, summoning, or moving backward? Since the MC is unwell, he is interested in the healing option. He decides to try giving the command with his voice. MC says, heal. He can't tell if the command has any effect because he has no indicators, but he feels a little better. Luke wonders if he can feel even better, so he gives the command heal again. Then he repeats it several times. A voice says, Luke, it's time to get up. They ask him how he feels. MC reluctantly wakes up. He is surprised that it is already morning. MC replies that he feels tired but healthy. Luke thinks that he lost consciousness because he ran out of mana, which is enough for about 10 times. A girl named Syrup approaches him and asks if he is still feeling unwell. Luke replies that he will not be able to understand anything until he begins studying magic. He goes on to say that it would be good for him to have a teacher. Luke gets out of bed, goes to wash up, and thinks that his father is unlikely to find him a teacher, so he will have to study on his own. He turns to Syrup and asks her to read him a book. Syrup is Luke's maid, a beastman dog. She agrees to read the book. She picks up the basics of magic and asks Luke if he wants her to read such a difficult book. Syrup puts the book back and picks up some children's books about cats and dogs. She suggests looking at picture books, as she personally loves the book about the faithful dog. Luke says he wants to try to learn magic. He plaintively begs Syrup to read to him about magic. But Syrup continues to flip through picture books about cats and dogs in front of him. In the end, Syrup sits down on the bed. Luke lies down on his side and puts his head on her lap. She says he's still just a boy. Luke asks Syrup to teach him how to read and write. He looks Syrup in the eyes without looking away and says that she is the only one he can rely on, so he asks her to help him. Syrup picks up a book on the basics of magic and smiles, saying that Luke can count on her. Dog beastmen, like real dogs, apparently love training. Syrup is a true representative of her race, so she asks Luke if it's time to start training. Luke lies down calmly and replies that no, thank you. Syrup says she understands and opens the book. So Syrup began to teach him C. She reads about the difference between magic attributes and attributes. Magic is, she continues. The book turned out to be difficult to read. Luke says he is surprised at how well Syrup manages to read such complex words and phrases. She asks if her reading is helpful. Luke replies that she is doing great. In short, it is the basis of magic. Mana is a transparent energy that fills the air around us, and the amount and power with which it can be used depends on personal talent. Luke reflects that the spiritual energy he felt seems to be mana after all. Luke does have a talent for magic. Syrup has read that to use magic, you just need to imagine and direct the mana where you need it. Luke thinks that he was able to use healing because he imagined how mana was healing him. Syrup continues reading the book about the difference between attribute and non-attribute magic. Non-attribute magic is simple magic that anyone can use. Attribute magic requires special talent. The book says that most aristocrats possess attribute magic. Luke knows that the Disgusto's family has an exceptional pedigree, so maybe he too will be able to learn attribute magic before he dies. Luke thinks about it and falls asleep. Syrup picks him up and carries him to bed. She covers him with a blanket and looks at him fondly. A thought flashes through her mind that she will definitely take care of Luke's safety. A year passes. Luke feels that his daily mana reserve has increased, the reserve that can be stored in the body. He assumes that he will be able to increase his mana reserve if he uses up his entire reserve every day. He remembers that the training process was difficult and that he often lost consciousness. Luke looks out the window and reflects that he regrets not being able to find a teacher. He lives in an annex with a butler and 3 maids, so it is impossible to learn much in such conditions. Luke sits down in the library next to a stack of books. He has already learned to read and has begun to study books. He began to think about how to avoid the fate of a fat, nasty toad. MC believes that, first of all, it is necessary to take care of his health. He recalls a character from the game who had a lot of pimples, warts, cracks in his skin, and was overweight. Judging by Luke's appearance in the game, his health needs serious work. People in the world don't wash every day. MC remembers that hand-washing products are very effective. So what if they're used to wash the face? When Luke and Syrup prepare the wash basins, Syrup asked why there was so much foam. Luke replied that he had sensitive skin and believed that more foam would cause less irritation. Syrup looks closely at Luke's face. She asks irritably, "Is his skin really sensitive?" MC realizes that it's impossible to understand without seeing his future appearance. He says that this problem does not exist now, so there's no need to worry. Syrup agrees. She says that since she is his personal maid, she will remember his daily routine. From that day on, they began to take care of his facial skin twice a day. One must be wealthy enough to use expensive skincare products without thinking about their price, because one needs soap, body and face lotion, moisturizer, and sunscreen. Luke then engaged in magical practices in preparation for the bathing procedures. Luke and Syrup organize bath procedures on the porch of the house. Syrup keeps repeating that she can't get used to bath procedures. Luke says he is glad that she has learned to use it. Even years later, her skin will be smooth, and if she continues to do so, she will grow up to be a real beauty. Luke continues. Syrup notices that Luke looks much better. In response, he also points this out to Syrup. Recently, he and Syrup have started cooking their own meals. Luke asked the butler to stop cooking for him. The butler took note of this request. Luke realizes that he needs to change his diet quickly because he always feels sick after eating. He has to be treated constantly. Perhaps the food prepared by the servants was not suitable for him. Luke starts cooking for himself, and his health improves significantly. At the same time, he began to eat dishes that he remembers from his past life, and which he found useful. After a short time, MC begins to realize that his stomach problems are over. One day, Syrup notices that Luke has stopped sleeping until noon. MC began waking up early in the morning to correct his daily routine and started taking walks in the sun every day. Fortunately, there is a beautiful forest near the annex. Syrup is very happy that there is now an opportunity to go for walks. MC begins to take walks and do simple physical exercises. Syrup once asks if it's time to start training. Luke refuses. When Syrup bathes Luke once again, he says that he doesn't really like training, so it's out of the question. Luke looks at Syrup and says he really wants to live a carefree and healthy life. Carefree and healthy? Syrup asks again. Yes, Luke replies. He goes on to say that, in his opinion, it is very difficult to achieve a carefree life. Syrup is surprised by this opinion. But Luke says that if he just eats and sleeps, he will become something terrible pretty quickly. Syrup is again surprised that it is possible to become terrible just by eating and sleeping. She says that Luke is still quite young. MC recalls the fat toad from the game, and he cannot imagine how Luke became like that. He believes that Luke currently has the potential to grow up to be handsome if he tries hard. Luke continues to say that with such an easy life, he will have a lot of free time. Syrup thinks he's an aristocrat and he's supposed to relax. MC responds that relaxation is no longer relaxation if there's nothing else to do. Luke thinks about amusement parks and casinos, but he would quickly get bored if he did that every day. He thinks about his father and realizes that, judging by his attitude towards him with this lifestyle, he will eventually be gotten rid of. Luke believes that even though he was born an aristocrat, this fact does not guarantee his personal safety. The MC remembers Luke from the game, who abused his origins, which led to his downfall. But he will try to take all his mistakes into account in order to prepare well for the future. Since Luke has had privileges since childhood, he will try to avoid unnecessary difficulties. In the future, as an adult, he counts on the support of his wife. If he is unable to marry, he will need a source of income that will allow him to survive independently without any worries. One choice that could change his fate is not to go to the academy. The character Luke mainly appears only in the academy. The game is divided into two major areas. Brief information about the Royal Academy of Alecitus. The first branch of the academy focuses on romance and training. The second branch is military, where you have to deal with villains. Mastering both branches will lead the hero to a bright future. Luke thinks that if he doesn't attend the academy, his chances of survival will increase significantly, but he has no compelling reason to do so. After all, the characters in the game are at the academy, and Luke loves them very much. But the MC dreams of being a happy idler, and he wants to try to enjoy this world as Luke. Syrup turns to Luke and asks if he really wants to live a healthy and carefree life. If so, he must learn how to wield a sword, she continues. Luke replies that he would prefer to move as little as possible. Syrup strokes MC's head and says that this activity is not only fun, but will also help him master self-defense skills. Luke listens and wonders, does Syrup really like sword fighting? He asks why he needs to learn fencing when he has her, Syrup. Syrup is surprised and asks how Luke knows about her training. MC replies that he had a feeling. He says he is putting Syrup in charge of the fighting. She agrees with this approach. Syrup puts Luke to bed, wishes him good night, and leaves. As he falls asleep in bed, Luke reflects that he realizes he has turned down every offer from Syrup to exercise, but he still needs to move a little if he wants to be healthy. The next morning arrives. Luke happily runs out for a walk, having invented a new spell. This spell is called Vow. It belongs to the original Attribute-less magic. This spell can work while Luke is asleep. Before understanding how Vow works, there is something else to understand. Attribute-less magic is basic magic that transforms mana into different forms. Non-attribute magic can be divided into 5 categories. The first category is everyday magic, which can help with daily tasks, such as light for illumination, cleaning for tidying up, and washing. Luke thinks about it and realizes that almost everyone can use this magic. Apparently, because of the cleaning spell, people in this world don't wash as often, thinks the MC. The second category is power magic, which can temporarily enhance physical attributes such as strength, agility, or defense. The power of magic depends on personal abilities, and stamina is spent in exchange for it. The effect varies from person to person, depending on each individual's training. The third category is enchantment magic, a special school of magic that can enhance weapons with attributes. It is a form of support magic used by blacksmiths and enchanters. Luke has no idea how to use it. The fourth category is support magic, a school of magic that specializes in supporting or weakening other people. The effect depends on one's imagination and how specific the spell is. For example, become stronger makes a person physically stronger, and triple your arm strength makes the muscles in the arms 3 times stronger. Luke knows that the task is to cover the target with support magic. The fifth category is healing magic, which is used to restore the body. The effect depends on anatomical knowledge. Thanks to his training from his previous life, Luke is very good at healing magic. All non-attribute magic relies on the transformation of mana. To create Vow, a spell is enough. It's easy to use. For example, Luke trains, Vow brings water, and the power of magic delivers water. Luke is confident that a command is enough and Vow will work. The time has come for the final test. The MC falls asleep while sitting at the table, but before that, he gives the order to cover his body with a blanket and to do exercises with his body instead of him personally while he sleeps. As a result, Luke dreamed that he was running, jumping, and doing other exercises while he slept. He believes that if he can exercise while unconscious, these exercises will be a piece of cake. Luke wakes up and realizes that his spell has worked. This is just amazing. This way, he can exercise while he is idle. The next morning, he wakes up and feels that his muscles still ache. Luke lies down on his bed and looks at the stack of books in front of him. He realizes that even though things are going well, there's still a lot to do. Luke falls asleep. In his dream, he feels hungry, even though it's only snack time. But he has just expended energy on his exercises, and besides, he is still growing. Luke jumps out of bed because it's bad to hold back too much. Meanwhile, Syrup brings in delicious cakes with a spicy aroma. Luke happily grabs a plate of cakes and begins to eat with joy. He thinks that, after all, his main goal is simply to live the easy life of a lazy aristocratic villain. 5 years have passed. Syrup is now 17, and Luke is 11. Luke is reading a book on a floating cushion. Syrup enters and addresses him. He asks what happened. Syrup is curious about how he manages to float in the air. Luke reflects that he realized long ago that there is no difference between levitating a glass and levitating himself. He realizes that it will be difficult to explain this to Syrup because she is unfamiliar with magic. MC thinks it is necessary to avoid answering, and he offers her a chance to fly too. Syrup asks in surprise if she can do it. Of course, Luke replies. Syrup cautiously begins to sit on the pillow, wondering if there is anything to be afraid of. MC replies that he is supporting the pillow with his mana. Okay, she agrees. The pillow takes off, and Syrup is thrilled. She says she has never been so comfortable. Luke replies that he is glad to hear it. How cool, Syrup exclaims. She asks permission to ask something. MC asks what exactly. Syrup looks Luke up and down and asks if he sleeps or reads all the time. How did he get such a fit body? Luke says he can tell her his secret. He calls her to follow him, goes outside, and tells her watch. MC explains that first he concentrates and gathers mana into a dense ball, and then he casts a spell, Val. Over the past 5 years, Val has developed significantly, and Luke has become much better at understanding it. He realized that he could do a lot after 5 years of diligent practice. He gives the command, martial arts, and his body, under the influence of the spell, begins to perform various elements of different martial arts. Syrup watches this and is delighted. She shouts, "What's going on?" Luke says he hates training. Meanwhile, Luke continues to perform punches and kicks, doing various spins. He delivers another series of blows. Then he stops, exhaling deeply. Luke asks her what she thinks of what she saw. Syrup replies that it was amazing. She runs to the MC and says she's impressed by his hard work. Luke says that he didn't really work that hard. She says he moved like a true master. Luke doesn't understand what she's talking about. Syrup continues that she has never seen anyone move like that, not even real fighters. MC is very impressed with the impression he made on Syrup. Luke reflects that he has invented a new spell and named it Trace. He places Val inside his body and sends information directly from his brain to it. The spell reproduces the movements of his favorite martial arts masters. Although he doesn't remember them himself, Val can retrieve them from his subconscious and repeat them. Depending on the source, Val can even combine technique from games and manga. As a result, Luke realizes that all his knowledge of fighting styles and their history has come together to create his own fighting style. The MC says that he doesn't even realize how he moves, so it can't be called hard work, but he has trained his body and even developed some muscle memory, which is quite useful. Syrup says that the levitation spell alone is impressive, so he also created new magic on his own. She continues. He's a genius. Syrup concludes. Luke disagrees with this statement. Syrup says that her master is only 11 years old, but he has already been able to peer into the mysterious abyss called magic. MC replies that he doesn't understand what she's talking about. Syrup thinks that Luke is just having a hard time realizing his abilities. Luke returns from training and reflects that this is a natural process because he has acquired all the knowledge from his past life, but still does not understand how the whole process works. Luke and Syrup walk along the veranda, and Luke says he is very tired. Syrup asks him if he wants to change his clothes. MC replies that he would like to take a bath. Syrup says she will go with him. They go to the forest to a spring, which is the closest source of water for bathing. MC starts bathing, looks at Syrup, and remembers how the maids constantly repeat how beautiful she has grown up to be. Luke knows that Syrup continues to repeat the procedures he taught her over the past 5 years. He feels that her beauty has recently reached a new level. In addition, Syrup has been training hard in fencing and has greatly improved her skills. After finishing his bath, Luke calls Syrup over to him. She runs up to him with a smile, without question. He thinks she behaves like a loyal dog who is happy just to hear her name spoken. Luke thinks that seeing Syrup's sweet side is his special privilege. They return home. Luke tells Syrup that he has a task for her. He asks her to tell his father that he wants to have his magical attribute determined. Syrup replies that she will be happy to do so. Luke rocks back and forth in his levitating chair and says he is really looking forward to it. Attribute magic is magic that can be used by those with special innate abilities. In this world, it is called the power given by God. If someone is told what their attribute is, they can use it. All they need to do is use their imagination. For example, if someone is told their attribute is fire, flames will appear in their hands. But who can determine this fact? The Ministry of Magic in Alessitas is responsible for this. The ministry deals with all attribute magic, and it is a place where the most powerful wizards in the world gather. Luke thinks that most likely someone belonging to this elite group must come and determine the attribute. This procedure is a privilege for aristocrats. MC knows that some people may not have attributes, but he doesn't think it's worth worrying about. After all, even among the lower nobility, all members of the Disgustos family have outstanding attributes. His father has the attribute of sand, his stepmother has stone, his older sister has seduction, and his older brother has iron. Luke is lost in thought, wondering what his attribute is. He can't wait to find out. The next day arrives. There's a knock at the door. Malsa opens it without even asking. A man named Malsa enters and sees the flying pillow. "And a beautiful girl on it," says the stranger. He was a middle-aged man with glasses, dressed in a black coat and carrying a bag over his shoulder. Luke has his back to the stranger and asks which girl he is referring to. But he quickly realizes that he has been mistaken for a girl. He understands that he has always been good-looking and all the beauty treatments help. But does Luke really think he is that cute? Syrup appears and introduces the stranger. She says that this man is the head of the Attribute Magic Department of the Ministry of Magic, Malsa Glicko. Malsa addresses Syrup. He admires her for her excellent memory. She has completely memorized the name of his position, even though she has only heard it once. He continues, saying that this is to be expected from the Disgustos family servants, as they are usually never wrong. Syrup replies that it couldn't be otherwise, while Luke quietly hides in the corner on a chair. The man asks where the young master of the Disgustos family is. Syrup points to the MC and says that here he is, Luke Hugelo Disgustos. The man apologizes for his rude behavior. Luke hears Malsa thanking Syrup. The church adheres to the doctrine of human superiority. It teaches that everyone except real humans deserves contempt. A real human is someone who is not a half-human, a beast human, a spirit, or a demon. For a second, Luke thought that Malsa was about to scold Syrup and that he would have to intervene. But seeing the situation, MC realizes that this man is not a bad person. The man introduces himself as Malsa Glicko. Malsan, Luke Propius. Malsan, the man asks, as this is unfamiliar to him. MC extends his hand and asks to be called simply Luke, saying he is pleased to meet him. Malsa looks kindly at MC. He also extends his hand and says that he is equally pleased to meet him. They sit down in chairs facing each other. Malsa says he will now determine the attribute. Luke replies, "Go ahead." Malsa gives the command to close his eyes. MC closes his eyes and exhales deeply, feeling nervous tension. Malsa says he is starting the process. After a short time, he announces sleep and laziness. The moment those words are spoken, Luke's eyes open wide. His feelings and thoughts are in turmoil. Luke thinks that these attributes have awakened in him, but he begins to realize that they have always been there. Luke thinks for a second and blurts out, "Amazing." Luke says that he truly understood what magic he could use as soon as he heard his attributes. Malsa asks for clarification. He says that among the attributes of magic, there are unique ones that are considered rare, and both of Luke's attributes are rare. Usually, the Academy records attribute magic and publishes it freely. But according to custom, rare magic is kept secret. Malsa continues, saying that he thinks Luke won't mind if they record his magic as affecting the human body. Of course, Luke agrees. Only simple ways of using it come to his mind. Are there any others? Luke asks. Of course, Malsa replies. He says that everyone has spells that suit them better than others. Luke will be able to improve his skills if he studies attributes. That's the only way to become a master, says Malsa, raising his right index finger. Luke looks at his guest with satisfaction and says that the magic that suits him is important. He says he will keep all the conclusions in mind when he starts training. Luke is surprised. MC says he didn't know that assessment magic existed. Malsa gets nervous and shouts, "How did MC find out about assessment magic?" Luke explains that Malsa has just assessed his attributes. Wasn't that enough to draw conclusions? Luke ponders that as a reincarnator, he guessed it, but it's more a secret. On this topic, Malsa begins to respond and coughs. Luke turns to Syrup and asks her to bring tea. She agrees. MC and Malsa begin their tea party. Malsa takes a sip of tea from her cup and says it's exceptionally delicious. Luke says that it is herbal tea and very good for the body. This tea is his personal choice. Malsa says that this drink immediately clears his head. He asks for the name of the drink. MC replies that he grew it himself and that it cannot be bought anywhere if he wants to hear the answer to his question. Luke continues and says that he doesn't mind sharing the tea leaves if he wants to. He also continues, saying that he should probably keep the magic of the evaluation a secret. Malsa thanks him for understanding the situation. He says that his daughter would definitely like this tea. MC is surprised that Malsa has a daughter. He replies that she's about the same age as MC and loves magic. After thinking for a moment, Malsa asks to return to the topic of magic. He apologizes and asks what spell is used with this pillow. Surely, it can't be ordinary magic? He apologizes again for his indiscretion. Luke says it's okay. He suggests they chat. They stay up late, and evening begins to fall. It's time to part ways. Malsa thanks Luke for giving him his valuable time. The MC turns to the guest. He asks if Malsa would be willing to be his teacher if he doesn't mind. Malsa is confused and asks again, a teacher of magic? He thinks Luke doesn't need a teacher, and he asks what else Luke would like to know. MC replies that he doesn't ask for much. He continues that he would just like to receive answers to his letters in which he asks about things he doesn't understand about magic, and asks if Malsa would mind. Malsa says, "So you're offering to be a pen pal?" He is interested in the offer and smiles sweetly. Luke asks again, "So he's not against it?" Malsa responds by asking if the MC will mind if questions are also directed at him. Luke happily replies that he doesn't mind, but isn't sure he can answer them. So it's settled. Malsa concludes. He says he will be happy to correspond. Luke thanks him and is also happy. Thus, the MC found himself a teacher, and thanks to Malsa, he learned a lot about magic over time. Unlike attribute-free magic, where mana and imagination are sufficient for spells, attribute magic has its own rules that must be followed, depending on the attribute. The magic of assessment helped the MC realize his innate magic. Innate magic is what is called the basic spell of an attribute. Everything else is a matter of knowledge and practice. For example, basic spells of fire. 1. Small light creates a small fire. 2. Fireball condenses and strengthens mana. 3. Fire arrow launches condensed mana. The MC has the attribute of sleep. This attribute also has 3 innate spells. 1. Sleep puts the target to sleep. The effect depends on the mana invested in the target's resistance, so you need to maintain a balance. 2. Sleep timer allows you to set the sleep time with a touch. The target of the spell will not wake up until the timer expires, no matter what. 3. Sleep removal allows you to remove the sleep spell from the target. You can protect yourself from magic with resistance or protective magic, but if the enemy does not know in advance, the MC will be able to put the targets to sleep before they have time to defend themselves. And if you also use laziness, the MC is sure that the enemy will not even think about what is happening. Luke thinks that both of his attributes are so cool that they are like cheating. He daydreams and thinks that if fire arrows existed, he would like to have a sleep arrow. Then he could put people to sleep from a distance. Luke begins to fantasize. He thinks he could put his teacher to sleep and skip classes as much as he wants. He wants to try countless spells, but there isn't enough time to try them all. The MC has gotten into the habit of giving control of Val's body to him for morning exercises. This clears Luke's head and makes it easier for him to focus on his experiments with magic. He thinks it's time to make something to eat. At that moment, Syrup enters and asks if Luke would like to eat. He replies that he would and asks her to prepare something. All right, the maid agrees. Luke still cooks dishes from memory from his previous life. He and Syrup take turns cooking. Although Syrup is excellent at any maid's work, she cooks quite edibly, but she lacks attention to detail. MC decides to talk to her later, as his concerns have been growing over the years, and he is already 11 years old. Luke decides to go for a swim while Syrup is cooking. He heads to the nearest water source. While he is bathing, he hears voices, but he knows that there is usually no one here. He hears a strange voice whispering that she will die alone and no one will help her because there is no one around. The word die sticks in Luke's mind. Even though he knows this is a completely safe place, he thinks a child may be lost. MC rushes into the forest, shouting, "Who's there?" In response, he hears what? Luke shouts, "Is anyone here?" A girl cries out from the darkness. She is frightened by Luke's nakedness. He realizes that she is one of his sister's guests, as she invites distinguished ladies to her home to expand her circle of acquaintances. Today is one of those days, but he simply forgot about it. MC approaches the girl and asks if she is a guest of his older sister Iris. The girl asks if Iris has a younger brother. MC introduces himself as Luke Hugolo Disgustos. The girl falls down in fright and says she is the daughter of the Count of Caribbean. Her name is Karen C. Caribbean. The MC is curious why she introduces herself this way. Luke approaches and says that she is Karen's little sister, a rather amusing girl. Karen looks up at Luke and feels a spark of attraction. He immediately asks if she can use magic. She holds out her hand to Luke and replies that she can and that she really likes magic. The MC asks her to demonstrate her abilities. Karen says, "Just a minute, sir." Luke hears this and thinks that Karen probably works in a store. Karen apologizes and takes a purse from under the hem of her dress. Luke says, "Cool." He asks if her magic is in the purse. Karen waves her hands and dishes and vegetables appear on a plate. The MC laughs at this and says that all of this can be bought without magic. The girl replies that she will show her magic soon. but for now she asks Luke to get dressed. The MC looks at Karen's purse and thinks that such a purse can probably hold a lot of things, and he is very curious to see what will happen. Karen abruptly pulls a Santoka knife out of her purse. She says that her attribute magic is cooking. She starts preparing the ingredients and cooking the food. She does everything quite skillfully. And here is the finished soup, which she made from what was at hand. She treats Luke and wishes him bon appetit. It was a spicy soup made from a moon rabbit. MC brings the spoon to his mouth and smells the delicious aroma coming from the dish. He wonders what makes food cooked with magic so special. He tastes it and realizes that it is incredibly delicious. He even wants to lick the spoon. He says he has never eaten anything tastier in his life, not even in his past life. Karen is happy with this assessment of her work and blows Luke a kiss. The MC cannot understand what her gesture means. He finishes his portion of soup and asks if there are any leftovers. He also feels his strength increasing from such food. The MC is surprised that Karen also puts a buff on the dish. He begins to wonder. It is amazing to him that this young aristocrat can cook buffing dishes. Luke looks at Karen and thinks that she would be the perfect support for a lazy person like him. MC thinks she shouldn't be allowed to get away. He calls her over. She approaches him. Luke looks into Karen's eyes and says that he would like her to cook him soup like every day when they grow up. Karen doesn't understand what he's talking about. Her eyes widen in surprise. Luke thinks he would be happy to become related to Karen's family. He asks her to marry him. MC thinks she will be able to support him even when the Disgusto's family falls apart. And her delicious cooking is even more important to him. Karen asks again, is he asking her to marry him? Is she understanding correctly? Luke even contacted his father to make the proposal official. But his father replied as usual, do as you see fit. MC said thank you. He understands that his father doesn't care about his problems. Everything happened quickly, and soon the families organized a meeting. At the entrance, Count Caribbean welcomes everyone to his restaurant. MC greets him and says he is pleased to meet him. Luke apologizes for his father. Count Caribbean says he knows that his father showed up, said hello, and left immediately. He invites MC to sit down and says that nothing terrible has happened, although he can't believe that the head of a prestigious family refused to attend his own son's engagement. Luke replies that he doesn't really care. He looks at Karen and thinks that his father's intimidating behavior would have been too much for her. The three of them sit down at the table. Luke asks for a frank conversation. He says he is the youngest son and has nothing to offer but himself. Will that be enough for him and Karen to get engaged? Caribbean smiles and replies that their family will gladly accept Luke. He says that Karen has already told him how much she loves him. Karen is very embarrassed by these words and blushes. She asks Luke if he really needs a wife like her. Caribbean says he heard that Luke proposed to his daughter himself, but some girls laugh at Karen because of her appearance. Luke sighs and says that it bothers him too. He thinks Caribbean is referring to his sister Iris, because he knows she makes fun of everyone except her pretty friends. By the way, Luke starts a conversation and thinks about it. He thinks about Karen. She is a little chubby, that's true, but she is only 12 years old and still growing. And actually, he thinks her round face is even cute. Caribbean begins to speak energetically. He is glad that there's a boy who sees Karen's inner beauty. Luke thinks that Karen is undoubtedly a good person and all that, but he was attracted by her cooking skills and her status. Caribbean continues, saying that everyone in their family, including him, periodically goes to sea, and Luke looks like he doesn't tolerate the sun well and is concerned about whether this will be a problem. For your information, the Caribbean family started out as fishermen and traders. Currently, the family is involved in a wide range of maritime activities. MC thinks that Karen has no brothers, so he will inherit the house. If she has a brother, MC is happy to give it up to him. Opening a restaurant with her cooking skills would also be a great idea. Luke tells his future father-in-law that he works out and is actually much stronger than he looks. Luke says he has countermeasures against the sun, and they're in good order, as he recalls his sunscreen. Everything is clear, Caribbean replies. MC muses that he could just call Val to the ship, and he wouldn't get seasick, and Val could carry his luggage. Then Luke would just be idle. Count Caribbean stands up and says it's time for him to leave and not disturb the young people. He says he wants the young couple to just have fun together. Karen agrees. Caribbean turns to Luke and says he trusts him with his daughter. Luke thanks his father-in-law for his trust. Caribbean leaves with a satisfied look on his face. On his way out, he shouts that he is a hurry-up, of course. Luke and Karen are left alone. Karen sighs deeply. MC asks what's wrong. Karen says she wants to be beautiful enough to look good next to MC. Luke replies that she's already quite pretty. Karen disagrees. She says that he is a boy, but he is so beautiful. She has heard that he has been taking care of his appearance and health since childhood. MC realizes that Karen has heard something after all. Who could have given her this information? Only one person comes to mind. Syrup. At home, she pretends not to care about anything, but is she still watching him? Karen wants MC to help her become more beautiful. He replies that he will gladly help her, but he is a rather strict teacher and she must understand that. She says she is ready to learn. Karen asks if a girl like her can become beautiful. Luke replies that she can, and very easily at that. Karen is surprised that it's so easy. Luke thinks that if he uses sleep and Val at the same time, he can put her on a diet, but she doesn't just want to lose weight. He believes that it is not yet time to teach her everything at once. MC asks his sister Karen if she would like to go somewhere with him. Karen asks Luke to call her simply Karen, and she will call him simply Luke. MC agrees. They head to Luke's house. He suggests continuing the conversation in his room. Luke calls Syrup and asks her to make sure no one is eavesdropping on them. Syrup is ready to fulfill MC's request. Luke wonders if he is being dramatic, but he is concerned about what his sister is up to. He turns to Karen and says he won't hide anything, but his diet works with the help of magic. Karen becomes curious. MC explains that he performs procedures while sleeping. Karen replies that it's all difficult to understand. MC promises to explain the whole process. He says that his attributes are sleep and laziness. Karen is amazed that he has two attributes. MC is flattered by this reaction and says that he uses sleep for his diet. He says he combines it with Val's attribute-less magic. How cute, says Karen. It's quite simple, Luke continues. He will put her to sleep and Val will enter her body. After that, Val will exercise using her body. Karen asks if that means Val is a self-sufficient spell. The MC says he is using it for demonstration purposes right now. He decides to set the sleep timer for 1 minute and show Val a simple exercise. A minute passes. Luke asks what impression he made on Karen. Did he move like a martial arts master? She replies that it was simply amazing. The MC says that he doesn't remember anything. That's incredible, exclaims Karen. Can she do it too? Karen asks. Luke says she just needs to let Val enter her body. He suggests she try it. She agrees. Karen changes her clothes with Syrup's help. Luke asks how well Karen can do physical exercises. She replies that she's not very good at them. Karen bends her arm at the elbow and tries to show her biceps, saying that she is actually quite strong. Luke smiles and thinks that she is strong, but does not exercise. He suggests starting with something simple so that her body can get used to it. Karen agrees to the suggestion. An hour passes. Luke greets Karen. He approaches her and asks how she is feeling. She doesn't even have the strength to speak. The MC asks if she is completely exhausted. She barely whispers, "Was it really just a simple exercise?" Karen tries to lift her arm, overcoming the pain. She says that her whole body hurts and she can't move. Luke suggests using healing magic. He suggests sticking to simple exercises for now to increase endurance. He goes on to say that some muscle pain will remain anyway. So you have to hang in there, Luke continues. Karen replies that she will try. Now he suggests discussing her appearance. Luke suggests taking soap, making a good lather, and washing thoroughly. He says that soap will wash away all the dirt, so there's no need to worry about it. But at the same time, you shouldn't rub your skin too hard so as not to damage it, the MC continues. Karen replies that she understands everything. She starts by washing her face. MC says that it is necessary to do this thoroughly. When drying your face with a towel, do not rub too hard to avoid damage. Karen agrees to follow his recommendations. Next, she uses various creams and perfumes for her face. Luke sees that Karen is glowing with curiosity, so it's quite pleasant to teach her. Luke explains that the next step is nutrition. He says that you can't have a good body without a good diet. The MC says that Karen is an excellent cook, so with the right ingredients, she will be able to make delicious diet food. Karen finds all this very interesting. From that moment on, Karen developed a passion for cooking diet meals. It all starts with simple ingredients. The first dishes are soybean dishes and steamed chicken salad. Karen turned out to be a good student. She took all of Luke's recipes and immediately began to cook ready-made meals from them. Among them were miso soup and natto hamburgers, Japanese dishes that Luke loves very much. When MC tried them, he was very happy to be able to enjoy these dishes again in another world. Once again sitting down at a table laden with a huge amount of food, Luke remarks to Karen that she has cooked too much. She apologetically replied that she wanted to try cooking many different things. MC said that no matter how healthy the food was, overeating was still very harmful. Karen replied that it was still not right to throw away the leftovers. Luke suggests donating the leftovers to an orphanage, especially since there are a couple of them nearby. Karen immediately perks up and says that it's a great idea. She'll be able to practice cooking new dishes, and the leftovers will be donated to orphans. Luke realizes that this is a double success. As a result, Karen starts cooking even more new dishes, and she gives the leftovers to different orphanages every day. Once again, when Karen goes to the orphanage, Luke asks if she's going to the orphanage again. She replies that it was his idea after all. MC says he remembers. When he hears the sound of Karen's carriage driving away, MC thinks he wants to be at home and just lays around. In addition, Luke recalls his previous trips to orphanages and believes that shelters are quite unhygienic and he cannot get used to it. He believes that even if magic is used to clean, it is impossible to wash everything. And there are many orphans there who cannot use magic on their own and do not wash at all. Once, Karen and Luke were in one of the shelters. Someone called Karen from behind, crying loudly. She turned around, and a girl ran up to her in tears and said that her younger brother had fallen and couldn't get up, asking for help. Karen replied that it was terrible, but she didn't know any healing magic. The church ran the shelters, but the priests only showed up when money was involved. Karen then said that she really disliked the local church. Luke replied that there was nothing they could do about it. They had to help. The girl called them to follow her. They carried the sick boy into a separate room, which was quite stuffy and dirty, and laid him on a bed. Luke listened to the boy's breathing and realized that something was wrong, and that it might even be pneumonia. Luke attempted to perform medical procedures. He tried to imagine the boy being healed and his breathing returning to normal. The patient fell asleep peacefully. After that, Luke said that the patient should feel better and left the room. The girl thanked God and Luke for their help. She asked how much his help would cost. Luke replied that it was free. The girl did not understand and was confused. MC says that he is the son of a duke and does not need money. He healed the boy to practice magic. Luke continued. MC reflects that now he knows how to treat this disease, so he should be the one to say thank you for the experience. The girl asked again, "Are you sure you don't need money?" She bowed down at Luke's feet and expressed her immense gratitude. Luke thinks she is a bright girl and is sure that she would have had a good life if she had been born under different circumstances. Sometime later, MC turns to Syrup. She responds with a greeting. He says that the Duke has more money than he can spend. And is that true? Since it's just sitting there and used, why not spend it on something necessary? Luke continues. Syrup smiles at his words. After a while, Luke and Syrup appear in the office of the director of the orphanage. Luke takes out a bag with 50 gold coins, puts it on the director's desk, and says that this money should be enough to put the orphanage in order and start teaching the children. The director thinks for a moment, but then decides not to refuse the charitable donation. He thanks Mr. Luke Disgustos. Luke reflects that he used to just accompany Karen on her visits to orphanages, but later he became interested. He believes that with the problems that exist in orphanages, such as illness, injury, poisoning, and various mental health issues, this place could be an excellent testing ground for gaining experience and applying healing magic. 3 years have passed since Luke and Karen got engaged. These years have been quite fun. Luke turned 14. Syrup is responsible for most of the household chores. Karen cooks every day. Luke, on the other hand, mostly hangs out in bars for entertainment and takes care of his appearance. His lazy life is gradually becoming more and more intense. Thanks to Karen, he gained a lot of different experiences. But sooner or later, such a life must come to its logical conclusion. MC knows that Karen is supposed to enroll in college next spring and start her student life in a dormitory. That's why Luke wants to spend the next few days with her. MC is levitating on a pillow in his room, waiting for Karen. Luke feels that Karen will not be coming anytime soon. Perhaps she is late. Time is dragging on, and he decides to go look for her. MC begins to walk around the mansion. His brother, Testa Hugolo Descustos, who is 19 years old, approaches him. Luke is not used to seeing his brother at this time of day. His brother walks past him as if he doesn't notice Luke. The MC turns around and thinks to himself that he has already surpassed his brother in height, but his brother is completely uninterested in what is happening to his younger brother. Luke thinks that this is not important. His task now is to find Karen. After thinking for a moment, Luke realizes where Karen might be. After a short time, MC finds Karen. She is sitting in a gazebo, surrounded by beautiful flowers. Luke remembers the chubby, clumsy girl he once met. Now he looks at the beautiful girl Karen and realizes that she has achieved tremendous success with the diet she has been following. Now she has become a famous beauty, combining femininity and youth. Approaching the gazebo, Luke greets his sister Iris. She also notices her brother approaching. She asks what happened. The MC asks if he can take Karen away. Iris replies with a displeased look that he has probably come to interrupt their tea party. Luke explains that Karen did not come to meet him, and he has come to retrieve the stolen young lady. Iris looks at her brother haughtily. Luke catches her gaze and thinks that his sister is trying to influence him in some way. However, MC knows that such tricks will not work on him. Karen says that she is also waiting to talk to Luke and apologizes for being late. MC looks at Karen and thinks that she is the sweetest girl for him. Iris turns to Karen and says that it's not her fault and she doesn't have to apologize. Luke asks his sister to stop the fuss. Iris says that she will let Karen go, especially since they can meet her at the academy. Luke smiles and says that he will also enroll in the academy next year, so his sister should wait for him. Karen sits there confused. She asks if they are both going to fight over her now. MC likes Karen in this state because she is just adorable. Iris is upset by this turn of events. Luke leans toward his sister and says that there is no other option. Iris covers her face with a fan and states that her brother's handsome face frightens her. MC looks his sister in the eyes and says that it's time for her to go to the academy, isn't it? He wishes her luck. Luke takes Karen's hand and says that they rarely see each other, so there's nothing wrong with creating a good mood. He suggests that Karen leave with him. Karen stands up and apologizes to Mrs. Iris for Luke's rudeness. Karen looks at Luke and smiles. She thinks he is the only handsome man she finds attractive. She has wanted Luke for a long time. Several months pass. Luke is lying in bed. Syrup approaches and asks which book he will choose to read today. MC does not want to wake up. Since Karen entered the academy, MC has practically stopped leaving the house. Syrup usually goes shopping, and when he needs to choose a product, Luke invites a sales representative. Apart from Elsa, he has no other good friends, so he has no one to meet. Luke sits up in bed and suggests that Syrup go for a walk today. She replies that it's not like him. Maybe it would be better to go for a walk another day when it's not raining. Syrup continues. MC dangles his legs over the bed and cheerfully says that it's no big deal, he just wants her to keep him company. Syrup agrees. She thinks she can't remember the last time something like this happened. They get into the carriage and rush off to do some shopping. Luke looks at Syrup, who is acting as the coachman. He notices that she's doing a good job. She is wearing a cape that hides her ears and tail. MC dozes off a little on the way, and he remembers that the three of them used to go on errands together with Karen. Luke misses Karen very much. Syrup's voice rings out, "We're here." MC is surprised at how quickly they arrived. Syrup says that no one would dare block the path of the Duke's carriage. Luke thinks, power is a great force. He wonders if this place will have what he wants to buy. They arrive at the Mado department store. It is a multi-story shopping center with many huge stores, many of which are found in games. In these stores, you can find most of the equipment and gifts for any occasion. Luke suggests that Syrup also do some necessary shopping. Syrup thanks him in response. A voice calls out, "Welcome." A middle-aged man with a neatly trimmed beard approaches them. He asks if the guest who has arrived is Mr. Luke, Duke of the Disgusto's family. Is that correct? The man says his name is Morsky Mado, and he is the owner of this shop. MC wonders how the shop owner knows his name. Information is the main weapon of merchants, Mado replies. He asks them to proceed to the reception hall for honored guests. They always welcome their guests warmly, he continues. Mado says that he is not very good at being a consultant, so he suggests that his daughter show them around and tell them everything. Mado introduces his daughter. Luke turns around and sees a girl with a radiant smile and shoulder-length hair tied in two pigtails. The girl introduces herself as Akari Mado, 14 years old. Luke and Syrup introduce themselves to each other. Luke recalls that this girl is one of the characters in the game who is following the merchant's route. Akari says she is pleased to meet Luke and Syrup. The MC is pleased that Akari has accepted Syrup. He reflects that he had only planned to visit this store once, but he was surprised to find that the reception of customers here was so personal and welcoming. Luke considers this to be fortunate. Akari kindly asks with a smile what they would like to purchase today. MC asks her to show him some products she recommends in the area of beauty and comfort. Akari says she understands his request and invites him to come and see. The first product she recommends and brings to their attention is a magic hairdryer. Luke notes that Akari is a very positive girl, unobtrusively showing and telling him about the products one by one. As a result, Luke is very pleased with all the purchases he has made. He has bought quite a lot. MC remembers Syrup and asks her what she would like to buy. Syrup tries to refuse the purchase. MC looks at Syrup's confused face and says that they rarely go shopping together, so he wants to give her a gift. In that case, Akari replies. She leads them to the counter and suggests they take a look at the red choker. Luke picks up the item and presents it to Syrup. Syrup's eyes light up at the sight of the choker. Luke says it's wonderful. Syrup thinks it's too much, such a purchase for a simple maid. MC says he'll buy it. Syrup replies, "Of course. Thank you very much, but Mr. Luke?" MC hands the purchase to Syrup and says it is in gratitude for all her care. He asks if he was right in thinking she liked the choker, or was he mistaken? Syrup smiles and replies that she won't be able to change his mind anyway. He puts the choker around Syrup's neck and asks how she feels. "Perfect," Syrup replies. Akari says it suits her very well. Syrup tries to find out what Luke thinks about it. Well, Luke thinks about it. He says that the choker goes very well with her light hair. Luke thinks how happy he is that Syrup likes the gift. Luke and Syrup leave the store. Akari sees them off at the carriage. She thanks them for visiting her store. Luke looks at her and realizes that it was a very pleasant shopping trip. He thinks that sometimes it is necessary to have days like this. On the way home, he thinks that next year he will also leave home and enter the academy. For this reason, it is necessary to go out more often. Already home, Luke believes he needs to figure something out before leaving home. More specifically, he needs to find out why Luke turned into a disgusting fat toad. Already lying in bed, MC thinks he has some ideas. He is too lazy to deal with all these problems, but it is necessary. In fact, the path of laziness is quite thorny. MC knows that there is one important problem that has been haunting him for a long time, and it is related to Luke's appearance. MC stands in front of the mirror in the bathroom and looks at his face. He cannot understand what Luke had to do to himself to become what he has become over the years. He cannot even imagine it. Moreover, at that time, there were already all kinds of facial skincare products available. Was it possible to become such a person just because of a sloppy lifestyle? MC thinks he had doubts about food that might not be suitable for his body. He reflects that the ingredients used to prepare food have not changed, and he also took into account his weak immune system and allergies. But MC still couldn't find the right answer to this question. Luke once again begins to compare questions about nutrition and food. He thinks it is necessary to ask Karen for help on this topic. Perhaps she will be able to suggest something. MC passes the list of ingredients to Karen. She looks at the list and concludes that almost all of the ingredients used are poisonous. MC reads Karen's conclusion and realizes that Luke was given drugs that caused abnormal changes in the body and even led to fatalities in some cases. The MC realizes that it is now clear what happened, but it is necessary to check once again how everything actually happened. To do this, MC interviews Syrup. He is interested in a description of Luke's early life. Syrup said that until the age of 4, he ate well and was a good child. The MC asks if there were any strange changes. Syrup says that she didn't even notice that Luke was in poor health until she was told about it. And when Luke became seriously ill, everyone was very surprised, and the maids were frightened. After the onset of the illness, Luke's condition was very poor. Syrup continues. She says that Luke became very ill when his magical powers ended, which was around the age of 6. MC asks who used to cook for him. She replies that a personal chef did, but after he was fired, the head butler took over. Luke begins to understand that the butler prepared the food that made him sick, and everything falls into place. MC believes it is time to solve this problem. MC uses his magical powers and ties up the butler. Luke goes to him to interrogate him. MC enters the room and closes the doors tightly. He sees the butler sitting in a chair, his body tied up and his eyes blindfolded. Luke greets him as he enters, but the butler remains silent. MC starts the conversation. He says he's been thinking about why Luke turned into a nasty toad. MC goes on to say that if he had grown up normally, things wouldn't be so bad. He thanks the butler for cooking his meals every day in the past. But unfortunately, it seems that it did not suit him. MC continues. He sits down opposite the butler. MC says he is sure that poison was being added to his food. Upon hearing these words, the butler begins to get nervous and choke. MC unties his mouth and eyes. The butler says, "Lord Duke des Gustos." MC asks again, "Was it your father who gave you the order, wasn't it?" MC thinks that it must have been difficult to deal with him, someone who did not die but became healthier and healthier. MC reflects that his father did not care about him at all and did not know that Luke had learned restorative magic and then created an antidote. MC asks the butler if he was the one who put poison in his food. The butler begs for forgiveness with bitter sobs. MC looks at the pitiful old man and is surprised by his quick confession. He thinks how boring it is, although his thirst for revenge would have grown stronger if the butler had tried to resist. The MC laughs and says he forgives the butler, but the punishment will still be carried out. The MC continues. The butler asks in a subdued voice what will be done to him. The MC says he will not be killed. He says that the butler will become a test subject for magical practice. As a gift, he gives him laziness. The butler immediately becomes calm and lethargic, almost sleepy. The MC sees the result of the magic and understands what the result will be if it is applied to people. He takes note of the result. The MC tells the butler to return to his workplace. Luke leaves, and now the situation is clear to him. The MC realizes that Duke Disgustos is his personal enemy. Luke thinks that his father would be interested in destroying such a high-ranking person as the senior butler, but it would be unpleasant if he provoked him into a premature attack. Therefore, he simply weakened him. MC believes that it is necessary to try to render his father's pawns useless. Luke returns to his room. Syrup meets him there. She tries to find out where he went. Luke asks Syrup to pay attention to him. He starts a conversation and asks if she will be happy about him enrolling in the academy. Syrup says she thought it would be a natural process and asks if he is not planning to enroll. MC remembers that there is a high probability that Luke will be killed if he goes to the academy. Not enrolling in the academy is a perfectly possible option. MC says that he has already chosen his path, and if he enrolls in the academy, they will stop seeing each other, so he will most likely not enroll. Syrup replies that she also does not want to part with Mr. Luke. MC thinks that since his home is also not safe, he is forced to constantly move to different places, all for the sake of his lazy life. MC decides that he will help the heroes from shadows. He will arrange a confrontation between the royalist and aristocratic factions, and Duke Descustos, the leader of the aristocratic party, will be defeated, as in the original story. The MC believes that this option will be the easiest way with the highest survival rate. He reflects and concludes that he has been reborn as a boring person, but perhaps it is worth it. After all, this game world with its heroes is his favorite game. The MC believes that he must play Luke until the very end. He thinks deeply, wondering if they will be able to kill him. Another year passes. Syrup sees Luke off in a carriage and wishes him a safe journey. He thanks her and heads to the entrance exam center of the Royal Academy of Alecidus. The Academy's entrance exam center is a multi-story building built in the shape of a circular amphitheater. The head of the examination board announces that the entrance exams consist of 3 parts: academic, magical, and practical. The best student in each subject will be enrolled in a special class, regardless of status. Luke stands with a group of examinees, listens to the information, and thinks that he doesn't want to be in first place, so let everything take its course. A girl standing nearby shouts, "What kind of beast man is this?" When the girl beast begins to move toward the dueling area, the MC wonders if she is also taking the exam. He looks closely and begins to remember. The beast girl begins to take the exam. Luke remembers that with such green hair, emerald-like eyes, and being a beast girl, she is definitely one of the characters in the game. This girl is the adventurer Ruby. She begins the battle with her exam rival. From the very first minutes, Ruby shows extraordinary agility and skill. In her fight, she demonstrated excellent fighting technique in addition to the physical strength of beastmen. The fight is over, and the examiner announces the next one. Luke Hugolo Disgustos is called. MC realizes that now is a good time to demonstrate his abilities. Luke thinks maybe he can use attribute magic, but that's all too much trouble. After all, using MC magic, it is possible to defeat an opponent very quickly. Ruby, who stayed to watch the duel, is simply delighted. The examiner calls the next applicant. Meanwhile, Ruby quickly leaves the examination hall. After the exam, Luke tries to find Ruby, but realizes that he has lost sight of her. He decides to meet her at the academy. Leaving the exam, MC reflects that Luke was able to pass all the exams with excellent results in the original, so he doesn't even need to worry. The next day arrives. Syrup comes running with a letter for MC. They open the envelope together and read it. It is a notification of successful completion of the exam. This means that MC will be enrolled in the academy. Luke believes that the adult love strategy simulator is beginning. The first day of school at the academy arrives. MC puts on his new uniform. He looks at himself in the mirror and admires himself. Luke thinks it's not worth saying, but he looks damn good. A regular uniform shouldn't look chic, but his perfect body is too perfect, MC thinks. Syrup says the carriage is ready. Luke thanks her. He realizes that today his new life begins. And so, the Royal Academy of Alecidus. Luke will attend the oldest and most prestigious academy in the kingdom. It is also a playground for various political games. Most aristocratic children enroll in the academy, but relatively recently, even commoners have been accepted if they're good enough, resulting in a noticeable increase in the number of students. The academy has 3 main faculties: combat, magic, and academic. There are many dungeons in the kingdom, and monsters even come out into the open, so the academy has to prepare people to fight this threat. The academy also has its own research center, where they are actively developing magic. Their teaching staff even includes a legendary mage. The MC remembers the game and knows that there were 2 goals in this part of the story. The first is to raise your basic characteristics, and the second is to interact with the main character. Depending on the characteristics, different characters appear, and in order to achieve a certain goal, it is necessary to complete tasks clearly and consistently. The MC remembers that in his past life, he fought against the main character from the shadows, playing the role of an aristocratic villain. But the MC would like to avoid this storyline because he wants to live. Luke realizes that he is no longer an ugly fat guy and is confident that this should already bring results. But the MC must survive, including for Karen's sake. Syrup sees Luke off and asks if she has forgotten anything. He says no, she has prepared everything necessary. Syrup says she is worried. She says that if it weren't for the rules that there must be at least a 2-year age difference between a servant and a student, she would be cleaning the dormitory. MC realizes that Syrup's sense of duty is only getting stronger. According to the Academy's rules, students who cannot cope on their own are allowed to take a servant. But because of the age difference, Luke cannot take Syrup. MC takes Syrup by the hands and says that he would be happy if she went with him, but nothing can be done against the rules. Yes, Syrup replies. She continues, saying that a servant must be close in age to the aristocrat, so naturally, it won't work out between them. Syrup says she is not sure Luke can manage on his own. MC replies that everything will be fine. Syrup continues, saying that Luke is one of those people who does not like to make unnecessary efforts. Everything will be fine, replies MC. Luke says that she knows that if he wants to, he can do anything. Besides, Karen is also at the academy. He continues. Syrup says with a hurt expression that she is the one who wants to take care of him. Thank you, Luke replies, hugging her arms. MC remembers that it is Syrup who has been protecting him since childhood and taking care of him. He recalls the evenings spent reading with Syrup and realizes that she loves him madly and her affection remains. At least MC believes all this. MC understands that Syrup is his only family. Luke remembers how Syrup cheerfully manages the household with a smile. She has always been his personal servant, but lately she has taken on even more responsibilities, and it is likely not easy for her. Luke says her name, Syrup, and hugs her, pulling her close with his arms around her waist. He tells her how grateful he is to her. She replies, "Sir," and tries to break free. MC promises that he will definitely repay her for everything. MC asks if she will trust him and wait for him. Syrup replies that she trusts him and will wait for his return. They hug, and Syrup says she will miss him. MC replies that he will miss her too. They sit down on a levitating cushion and begin to move slowly around the room. Luke says he will return at the end of the year and asks her to be patient until then. Okay, she agrees. He asks Syrup to look after the house while he is away. As they part, Syrup shouts that she will wait for his return. The carriage starts moving, and the horses carry Luke away. As the carriage travels through the capital, Luke continues to think about Syrup. He realizes that he won't be able to be with her for a while, but he's not going to give her up. He just has to wait until he finishes his studies. MC recalls that before leaving, he told Syrup that when he finished the academy and left the Duke, he would take her with him. She asked him if he was sure about that. Yes, Luke replied. She said she thought she would no longer be needed. MC replied that he was not going to abandon her. Syrup also said she wouldn't abandon Luke. He was glad to hear that. Luke thought that if Karen forgave him, then Luke told Syrup that they could be one family. Syrup exclaimed with delight. Really? Of course, replied MC. He remembers that Syrup is incredibly sweet, and he adores her. The carriage pulls up to the academy building. MC realizes that it's time to let go of his memories and take a step toward the new life. Luke gets out of the carriage, and at the entrance in front of the gates, he is met by the administrator, who wishes him luck. And now MC is already on the academy grounds. MC walks around the academy grounds near the dormitories. Someone calls him from behind. Luke knows that he is supposed to meet his escort somewhere here. MC turns around and sees a girl. He thinks, is it her? He tries to find out who this girl is. She says without stopping that she recognized him immediately, that he is just as her father described. MC doesn't understand whose father. The girl apologizes and introduces herself as the daughter of Baron Malsa Glicko. She says her name is Libera Glicko. It was Libera Glicko, 15 years old, daughter of the Baron of the Glicko family. She wore large round glasses, had a neat bob haircut, and was dressed in the uniform prescribed for students of the academy. The girl smiled sweetly. Malsa's daughter? Luke exclaimed happily. He remembers that in the game, the main character looks like her father, just as Libera looks like her father. And that was funny. MC wonders if she has been assigned to accompany him, although it doesn't really matter. Libera starts a conversation and says that Luke is the only one who calls her father Malsan. He replies that he can call her Ms. Libsan. She asks him to just call her Libera. MC asks Libera if she likes magic. He remembers her father mentioning this. She replies that she simply adores it and wants to work for the ministry in the future. MC says he understands everything. He looks into Libera's eyes and says that she will definitely succeed. She replies that girls usually laugh at her desire. Why? Luke asks. He says that she is talented and takes magic seriously, so everything should be fine. Libera laughs and says, of course. She thanks him for his support. Libera declares that she will be Luke's companion. He replies that he can take care of himself. Libera replies that no. She wants to take care of him. Is that true? The MC asks again. Yes, she wants to get to know him better, Libera replies. The MC thinks she likes him a lot. Luke's magic is just art, Libera says. Everything becomes clear to the MC. He thinks she is obsessed with magic. In the game, you can meet Libera if you level up your magic. She is one of those whose love of magic goes too far. Luke thinks there will be problems if they continue talking about magic. He suggests talking about magic later, because right now he has to settle in. Libera says she has already done everything. She says she didn't want them to bother with such trifles together. The MC is amazed by her enthusiasm. With that, MC looks at Labura with a sly look. He asks if she wants to talk about magic. She replies that she would love to. Labura suggesting a place where they can talk quietly over a cup of tea. They head to a cafe. They sit down at a table and order tea. MC admires the aroma of the tea, bringing the cup to his face. Labura says that it is the perfect tea for talking about magic. Luke sips his tea and says it is very tasty. Labura thanks him for the opportunity to chat. She adjusts her glasses and suggests getting straight to the point. She asks if Luke would mind hearing her opinion about his magic. Of course, he replies. Labura begins by saying that, first of all, when it comes to elemental magic is this, elemental magic is that, elemental magic is the other thing. Luke thinks that she probably inherited her love of elemental magic from her father. He sits and listens attentively to Labura. He believes that her knowledge is very useful. Labura says that, in her opinion, elemental magic has enormous potential. MC realizes that Labura has room to grow. MC recalls Malsa and imagines his daughter next to him. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. After all, they already know what they need to do in the future. MC believes that it will be convenient for him to study magic next to Labura. They continue to sit in the cafe and chat animatedly. The cafe patrons begin to leave. Labura takes out his wallet to pay and says it's time to go. They need to get to the main event of the day. They are in the main hall of the academy, where the entrance ceremony will take place. Luke is in the upper rows of the balcony, so he begins to look around at the audience. There are many different girls in the hall with long hair, short hair, brunettes, blondes. The MC realizes that there are many complete strangers in the hall. Luke feels that someone in the room is looking at him, and this gaze is unpleasant, causing goosebumps to appear on his body. Finally, he sees a young guy in the crowd, a brunette named Dan, and realizes that this is the one who caused all the trouble. The MC wonders if the guy with the hostile, disgusted look has noticed him. Luke realizes that this is their first encounter, and it seems that there will be many more. Labura notices that Luke is getting nervous and asks him if something is wrong. Sir. He looks into the distance and wonders why the brunette is looking at him with hostility. Labura sees a young man with a girl on the balcony and asks if they are the ones he is talking about. She says it may be because he serves a hostile faction. He is a knight, a student of Dan. Labura knows that the Marshall family is still at the head of the royal faction, and, as such, he is a natural enemy. Labura continues her story and says that the girl next to him is Lady Lingshan, who is incredibly brave. Magic is not her forte, but she makes good use of elemental magic as a shield. Labura says that if she remembers correctly, Lingshan's magic is described as. The MC listens to his interlocutor, and it seems to him that she knows about the magical abilities of everyone around her. Labura is a walking dictionary, Luke thinks. In the game, Lingshan is the main character's childhood friend and a knight. If you choose her, the game's plot develops according to the Marshall family storyline. Even if nothing works out with the other characters in the game, you can always return to Lingshan, who will ultimately be a good wife who loves her children and husband. If the protagonist does not choose her, she will end up with Luke, and she will become the main character's enemy. Nothing will remain of her pure and kind character, but she will not lose a drop of her beauty, and it will be a mesmerizing sight. Labura says that Lingshan's servant, Dan, also studies at the academy. Despite being a commoner, he became a knight and can use elemental magic. Since childhood, he has been fighting monsters and training. Dan enrolled in the academy and plans to follow in his father's footsteps. He wants to become a noble knight. But if that happens, it will create an even greater gap between them and the aristocratic faction. Luke thinks that if he does nothing, his father will be angry with him too. The MC realizes that the problems are getting worse. At that moment, the host of the ceremony announces that she will give a welcome speech. Irina Shilda, goddess of Alecidas, takes the stage. Irina Shilda, goddess of Alecidas, is the first princess of the kingdom of Alecidas. The MC remembers that she is also a heroine in the game. The princess begins to speak as a representative of the students, wishing everyone a happy life. Luke starts yawning. He thinks the princess is talking too long and boringly, and he is getting bored. Labura asks if the princess is very beautiful and if she really doesn't interest Luke. The MC knows that she didn't interest him in the game either. She is just beautiful. There is nothing else interesting about her. The MC has already seen enough of his sister Iris, and her beauty is enough for him. Besides, Luke says he already has a girlfriend. He takes out his pillow. Labura wonders if he is not going to sit still. Luke uses magic to inflate a pillow. He lies down on it. Labura asks if Mr. Luke has decided to take a break. Is it forbidden? Luke asks again. Labura says it is not forbidden and that she is also interested in the topic, but unfortunately, it is not possible to talk about it now. However, she promises to wake up MC when everything is over. He thanks her and says that she is his savior. Luke settles comfortably on the pillow, closes his eyes, and reflects on how happy he is that Libera is such an understanding person. The ceremony in the hall continues. After a while, a voice calls out, "Mr. Luke." He opens his eyes slightly and asks, "Are you done?" Libera replies that yes, it's time to wake up because everyone has already left. Okay, Luke replies lazily. He gets up and picks up the pillow. Libera asks, "Is this the pillow?" "Yes, it is," Luke replies. Libera says that her father told her that when he first met Luke, he saw a pillow floating in the air. Then he said, "How beautiful." MC laughs, and everything becomes clear to him. He says that it is very comfortable and that he will let her use it sometime. "Really?" Libera asks excitedly. She is very happy to hear this. She is impressed by honest people. Libera becomes capricious. She would like to try it right now, but they haven't finished their business. MC looks at her and thinks she's a little crazy. Luke grabs her hand and says, "Let's move on." Libera is unhappy with this and pulls her hand out of his grasp. MC asks if she is against such behavior. She says no, but it's just her first time holding hands with a guy, and she takes his hand again. Luke says that in that case, he needs to take responsibility. He asks permission to walk her to class. Libera replies that she trusts him. They take each other's hands and walk through the corridors of the academy. Lady Lingshan and Dan pass them, holding hands. Lingshan stops and turns toward Luke and Libera. She exclaims loudly, "How vulgar!" Libera seems to have lost her temper. She shouts, "What is this? They didn't do anything." MC pulls her arm and tells her not to pay attention to them. Libera asks angrily, "Doesn't that make you angry?" Luke replies that it doesn't at all. He doesn't even want to waste his energy on such things. She smiles in response and says that this is the answer she expected. MC says that he enjoys talking to her and has fun with her, so why waste energy on anything else? Libera is simply shocked by these words. She asks again if he really enjoys being with her. "Yes, of course," Luke replies. "And she also enjoys talking to him," Libera says. She says they need to get this over with quickly. They enter classroom 0 and approach a free table. Luke says they can sit wherever they want, and they sit down on chairs. The teacher's voice is heard. "Excellent. Everyone is here." He introduces himself to the audience as the homeroom teacher for class 0, Glorin. He is an intelligent-looking man with long hair and glasses, 33 years old. In the game, he was in charge of explaining various issues. Next to the homeroom teacher is a woman who announces that she will be the homeroom teacher's assistant. Her name is Cirrus. The MC looks at her and remembers that this languid blonde is the most difficult heroine to win over. In the game, the assistant class leader Zero, Cirrus, is a witch who has seen the magic of the abyss. To be continued. Thanks for watching. Write your feedback in the comments. If you like the story, please like and subscribe. See you soon.